G'day listeners and welcome to the fourth interview this week on the 3 Feet Radio Show, and joining me in the studio is my co-host Luke Herbert. G'day Luke.
G'day Ben, and this is going to be an interesting interview for player signings, given how much I know that there's a couple of ex-Still players around looking for a gig next season.
It's going to be interesting, but Jade Clarke won't be one of them, will she Luke?
I know, look, I have to be semi-objective here, but I've got to say though, I was very happy with the Rhinos, Ben, because she wasn't going to come out to the ANZ Premiership. So, next best thing.
No, not at all. And she wasn't going to come to the Suncorp Super Netball here in Australia. But more importantly, joining us today is the new head coach, or the inaugural head coach of Leeds Rhinos, in our old mate Dan Ryan. G'day Dan, how are you, mate?
Hello, boys. Great to see you, and great to have you guys back doing some netball media. Good to see it.
Thanks very much. We're really enjoying it so far being back. First of all, what made you take on the role as Leeds Rhinos head coach as a new franchise in the Vitality Netball Super League?
Yeah, it was an opportunity, to be honest, too good to pass up. I came back to the UK at the end of 2018 to coach the Northern Ireland national team in preparation for the World Cup, and was also working with Manchester Thunder again, this time as an assistant coach. And I guess kind of rolled the dice a little bit from a career perspective in coming back to the UK, hoping that there might be some further opportunities down the road. And as it turned out, the Rhinos were granted a license to enter the Super League in 2021. And for me, the chance to, I think, be a part of something from the very beginning in the ground up and build it authentically yourself from the start was an opportunity I couldn't turn down. And also the chance, I think, from my own personal development and I guess the sport moving forward, being partnered with an elite rugby club like Leeds Rhinos, which is a huge sporting powerhouse here in the UK, to be immersed in that high performance environment every single day and working with industry leaders, I think was just something that I was so excited by. So the past 12 months has been all about building the program and getting everything sorted. And yeah, as you heard, we've announced our first player and we basically start training next week. So a great opportunity, a lot of work. There's no question about that. When you're building something from the ground up, there's a lot of work to do. But loving it so far and looking forward to the real fun stuff beginning, and that's getting out on a court again.
And can you just tell your listeners a little bit about the Leeds area for those of us that aren't that familiar?
Yeah, so Leeds is obviously up in the north of England, and there's not a lot of teams in the UK Super League that are based in the north. The only one, to be honest, is Manchester Thunder, which is our closest ally, I guess. And then a little bit further, there's the Scottish team, the Strathclyde Sirens. So it's a little bit of an isolated area in terms of opportunities for athletes. And, you know, there used to be a Yorkshire-based team, the Yorkshire Jets, in the Super League, but they disbanded at the end of 2016. And since then, there hasn't been a representation. So the region of Yorkshire is one of the biggest in the country. And so they're extremely hungry for professional and elite netball to return to the region. And that's why I think there's so much excitement around Leeds Rhinos and the rugby club, particularly being the owners and operators of the franchise. It's a great part of the UK. I'm loving living here. And I think just the thirst and the hunger of the community to see elite netball back is what they've been missing for the past 4 or 5 years.
So it sounds like you've definitely settled into Leeds, Dan. I heard in your chat you had a couple of months ago with Sue Gordy, and that you couldn't believe that you go outside your door and at the back of your place, there's woods where you can go running. Like, who would have thought that? Here in Victoria, like in Geelong where you grew up, or in Melbourne where I am, we wouldn't have that.
No, not at all. And it's a really cool area, to be honest, because I'm about a 5-minute drive into the city centre. But also, like I said, at the back of my doorstep, there are the great nature reserves and the woods and national parks and all those types of things. So one of the beauties of COVID, when we were able to, I guess, leave the house for an hour of exercise a day back in the first period of lockdown, which was pretty extreme here in England, it made you get outside and explore, I guess, parts of the areas where you live that perhaps you wouldn't have done previously. So I found a lot of walking tracks and running trails that I love to get out there and, you know, get amongst every day. So it's a really nice part of the world. And like I said, you're close enough to the city for that type of experience, but you also got, you know, the beautiful outdoors and nature around you, which is good for the mental health and well-being of everybody, I think.
And just speaking of, for a moment, because who knows what's going to happen. Can you tell us why you signed a foundation player? I think I could give it a pretty good stab, but just show is actually about interviewing guests, not just me.
Yeah, I think, you know, signing someone like Jade Clarke obviously was a really important step for us to move forward. And, you know, one thing that we're really clear with our recruitment strategy was to ensure that we did have some really solid key experienced players to lead and guide us, particularly in an on-court sense, but also from an off-court team culture, team environment capacity as well. And, you know, there's no one better than Jade Clarke in that regard. She's a legend of the game. She's so well respected worldwide. And the way teammates see her and deal with her and interact with her is that she's incredibly loved by all. So I think she's just going to bring so much to our environment on the court, but also off the court as well. And I'm really looking forward to working with her again and pairing up with her and building this from the ground up. It's exciting for her. It's exciting for us. And we know that she's going to be a hugely influential figure now and also into the future. So there's a lot of youth in our team too, in terms of our recruitment strategy, because we did want to ensure that we had a lot of growth potential moving forward. And we weren't just looking at year one. It was also about year 2, year 3, and beyond that as well. So I think the impact she'll have will be bigger and beyond just the first 12 months. But yeah, no better player in the UK to sign as your inaugural player than Jade Clarke. So we're very proud and very happy to have her on board.
And you talk about everyone loves her and it's exciting to have her, Dan. You've been quite vocal about the issues surrounding the marketing of netball in England. Do you feel by having someone like Jade is a perfect opportunity for marketing and media and communications for Leeds Rhinos as a new franchise coming into the Vitality Netball Super League?
Oh, absolutely. And I suppose I don't think it's so much around the media and marketing. I think that's really grown enormously over the last couple of years. I remember the first time that I was here in 2016, it was just starting to scratch the surface. And then coming back at the end of 2018 for the 2019 Super League season, the growth of the game has just gone through the roof. So there's a lot of great traction happening in that space. I think my biggest passion project at the moment is really pushing and working hard to ensure that the UK Super League becomes a professional league. And I think at the moment there's a few gaps in the way that we operate and a few gaps in, I guess, processes and funding and all of those types of things that make a professional competition. I think that's something that I really want to see as a priority in terms of England Netball investing in something. I think it really needs to be the Super League, because we are the most consistently visible netball product week to week here in the UK. And if we aren't front and centre during that period of time, it's very difficult for the sport to go to the next level. So during my time here, I guess what I can control is what I do with Leeds Rhinos, and we're running a full-time program for the athletes. We've obviously got the backing of the rugby club, who, you know, are hugely powerful in the community and corporate and commercial space. And we want to make sure that we can really professionalize what we do for our athletes. But yeah, I'd love to be working closely with the league as well to see if we can just keep pushing the Super League forward and make it a world-renowned league and get it up there, I guess, closing the gap between the ANZ and Suncorp. There's quite a separation at the moment in terms of, I guess, standards and operating practices at the moment between those leagues, which is understandable. But that's where my passion project lies, in trying to push that forward to see if we can really close the gap on the Southern Hemisphere.
And just don't worry too much, but for people that want to watch the league internationally, like myself and her guests, is there a way we can go about that? Because there's a whole netball audience around the globe that probably wants to see how Leeds and all the other things are doing in the UK, because we want to see the English players, even if it's just internationals that aren't based in this part of the world, how they're.
Yeah, it's such a great question. And I think probably one of the biggest issues the league faces at the moment, you know, even as a coach in the league, the way that we normally have to follow it at times is via live tweets on Twitter as to how matches are unfolding, because we can't actually watch games live unfold. So I think one thing that the league is looking into is just having a bit more of a streaming platform where all of the games can be accessible. I think realistically for the league to take the next step is it needs to be seen. It needs to be seen globally. And even as a first step, it needs to be seen across the entire UK for all netball fans to follow each week, so they can really get behind teams and you can start building those types of rivalries in that fan base that perhaps is missing slightly because you can't actually follow the competition in full. So while Sky Sports does a fantastic job in broadcasting one of the games a week, it's really important, I think, from a league's perspective, that we get more matches on Sky so fans can access it. And then the games that aren't on TV are streamed or something like that, where we can still actually be following the league in full, and just opening up, I guess, the restrictions to allow viewers from overseas to be watching the games as well. I think one of the beauties of Suncorp now is, the Netball Live app is fantastic. You can watch it from anywhere around the world and, catch up later if you missed the game live or whatever it is. And, I think it's almost a non-negotiable in my mind that that's what needs to be happening for the UK Super League. And at the end of the day, it's all about funding. But we know that if the investment is made into that space, then it will eventually pay for itself. So it's a really tough question, because I think, as I said, even as a coach, you don't get the opportunity to watch every single game throughout the rounds, which is what you should be doing theoretically. And following on Twitter is not a way to be doing it. So hopefully over this period of time, it's been something that England Netball have been very mindful and conscious of. And, hopefully for the 2021 season, where there might not be crowds because of the pandemic, that fans get to access it through an online platform or whatever it might look like. But, I'd love to see a Netball Live app version over here in the UK Super League and open it up for the rest of the world to watch and follow. And I think the traction and momentum that will, be a catalyst for will be absolutely huge. So, yeah, fingers crossed something like that can happen in the very near future.
And Dan, you mentioned Sky. I know you've done a fair bit of commentary for them over there. Have you enjoyed working in the UK media? I know you loved it here. Sort of, it took a bit of a break when you were with the Thunderbirds, but then you went back to it in the UK. So did you enjoy it? And is it working in the netball media a bit different over there compared to here?
Similar but different. There's absolute differences over here and working in the media. And I love all the commentary work that I get to do. I've probably been doing it for about 13 years now, which is something I'm still really passionate about and never too far away from. So, I might return to that in the future, who knows, but I certainly love the opportunities that Sky and the UK over here have given me, in be it commentary, be it being an expert, be it a lot of media exposure and those types of things. And, they really value, I guess, my opinions and my insights and thoughts, which is quite nice. And they've certainly embraced me, I think, as, being the only male coach over here in the UK professionally. It's something that they're very supportive of, which I think is fantastic. And it's probably a little bit more relaxed over here in the media. People are probably, they're quite comfortable in having opinions and all those types of things, which I think is really critical to grow the game and to get a bit more interest above and beyond just player profiles and team A beat team B. So I think the media space, they're doing some really good stuff. It's just about continually pushing it forward now and making sure that, it does attract a new level of audience every time that there's something to be seen or something to be gravitated towards, if there's a big story that might be unfolding.
Just staying with the league, playing court, are there any players from Northern Ireland or in the national team that, putting aside the practical difficulties we've talked about, that people should keep an eye on these players? Are they stuck under the radar at all?
Yeah, well, one of the key strategies, I guess, for my job with Northern Ireland is that a lot of the girls, half of them live in England and half of them live in Northern Ireland. So it's a very difficult program to be managing and to deliver, because you can't get everyone together very often at all. And, it's a program that runs on very minimal funding. So it's a tough program to deliver and to lead. However, one of the strategies that we wanted to make sure we could do was to get as many athletes involved in Super League franchises as possible, because obviously when you're immersed in a daily training environment, it's going to fast track their development and give them all of the training that they need week to week. And we're going to have a record number of Northern Ireland athletes representing different franchises in the UK Super League next year. Up to about 6 or 7 contracted athletes, which is huge. And also a couple of athletes sitting in training partner roles, and then also a couple of athletes sitting in the underage pathway system. So in terms of moving the individual athletes forward, that's going to be absolutely massive for the country's growth. And then hopefully they bring all that experience and that new level of knowledge and high performance behaviours back with them into our, Northern Ireland environment when we get together for team camp. So there's a couple of exciting names to keep an eye on. I can't tell you them just yet until they announce where they're going and what they're doing. But it'll be a record representation for Netball Northern Ireland in the UK Super League next year. And it's something we're all very proud of and very excited by. So watch this space in that regard.
Since you've moved across back to the UK again, or even when you were there the first time, Dan, did you still find time at all to play netball? I know it's something you always did for a long time. And are you still over there at all known as the male Sherelle McMahon, which is what we used to call you, which is what we used to call you at uni. Listeners, Dan and I are old friends from uni days.
I'm happy to be called the male Sherelle McMahon whenever you like to. It was a long time since I probably had that type of form on a netball court, I'll tell you that much. But
Yeah.
I tried to have a bit of a run around December last year, actually playing for the Knights men's netball team, which is a team based down in England, which are probably they were the instigators of, I guess, men's netball really emerging over here in the UK, which has been fantastic. And there's now about 5-6 clubs around the entire country of men's teams. So that participation level is fantastic for the guys now over here in the UK. But as I said, I had a run around in a preseason tournament against some of the Super League teams, and come the third game for the day, I popped my calf. So that was kind of the writing was on the wall to say, step aside, mate, and stick to the coaching. But it was great to have a run around again. And I'd love to still be doing it, to be honest, but it's pretty tough with all the coaching commitments at the moment. So I might just stick to the coaching and get out amongst the training capacity rather than a match play session every now and then with my team. But certainly miss playing, and it's been a long time since I played at the very top level, but some pretty fond memories from those years for sure.
And the men's teams you mentioned just then, the club teams, are they integrated with other netball clubs, or are they standalone organisations?
Well, they're standalone organisations in the way that they operate a little bit. However, they've been absolutely embraced by the Super League franchises. So that's been something that they've done incredibly well. And it's great to see the Super League franchises really see the value of the male players and what they can bring to the training environment and how they can support in preparation. And I know that there's a couple of the men's franchises up near my area here in Leeds that we certainly will be accessing in an official training partner capacity throughout our preparation phase and throughout the season as well. And the Knights men have been very active in terms of offering their services to all the franchises around the entire country. And what's great, those boys out of their own expense will travel every distance of the country to play games against the franchises. They just want to be involved. They want to help. They want to get out there. And it's great to see that involvement because, the men have such a critical role to play in netball. And it's great to see England and the franchises embracing them for what they can offer and how they can support. So, definitely a really important thing. And, we're going to have the first official men's England team selected this year, I believe, to play in a World Cup in Perth in Australia. And just to see those opportunities now for guys over here to play at that level, I think is really exciting. So been really impressed and inspired by the growth of the men's game over here and how many people are taking it on board. So keep up the traction. They're doing some great stuff.
And even though Dan, it's here in Australia, you've got 3 teams in the Suncorp Super Netball that are aligned to football clubs. You've got Sunshine Coast Lightning with the Storm. Then you've got Collingwood, obviously, with the Magpies. And then you've also got Giants with GWS Football Club. Have the executives at Leeds looked at that, even though it's in Australia, those models, to see how another sporting code can link in with a netball team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when they applied for the license a couple of years ago, there's obviously a lot of research and due diligence done as to how it works and I guess the mutual benefits of both the netball and the organisation as to how they can work together. And that's been really great to see. And I think what I've been really impressed with Leeds Rhinos in particular is our full integration into the club. We're not a sidearm. We're not an external partner. We are fully immersed as a part of the rugby's high performance program and the overall organisation, which I think is fantastic. And, also really integrated is women's rugby. And I think what I love about Leeds Rhinos is it's a sporting club bigger than just rugby league. It's men's rugby, it's women's rugby, it's now netball. There's wheelchair rugby. They do a lot in the community space. And I think it's so important for netball to really gravitate towards that, because I think what we can learn from other codes and what other codes can learn from us, I think is really quite powerful. And it's interesting in the UK Super League because all the franchises operate differently. Some are operated by a rugby club like we are. Others are purely standalone small businesses. Others are run by universities. Others are partnered with perhaps rugby clubs but aren't fully integrated as well. So it's a little bit different in how everyone's business models are set up. But speaking, on behalf of Leeds Rhinos, I think the way that we've set it up is really quite exciting because an athlete that comes to play netball for Leeds Rhinos doesn't just play netball for Leeds Rhinos. They're a part of the Leeds Rhinos sporting family, which I think is really exciting. And I think the opportunities that can come from that is what, is really quite attractive for anyone that signs up to be a part of our club. So, really exciting times ahead. And I think it offers us a really good opportunity to be sustainable year on year with the support that we have from the rugby department.
And any time frame for membership you might want to support?
Yeah, so what we are looking to do is to have we're looking to have the inaugural founding members launch relatively soon. I think our first process is getting all the team announcements out into the public first, and then it's all about ensuring that we can then really start the marketing drive to getting people on board. And I know Yorkshire Netball are so supportive of what we're doing in the entire region, as I spoke about before. So I'm pretty sure that those founding memberships are going to be snapped up pretty quickly. But stand by for some announcements on that coming over the next couple of months as we get a bit closer to the start of the season. But we're really looking forward to being able to bring netball to this region and have a really passionate and parochial fan base, and make a trip to Leeds a really uncomfortable one for the 10 other teams that are in the competition.
I do know from back in the day down here, Dan, you are Kestrels through and through, and we saw the retirement of Caitlin Thwaites during the week. You probably have fond memories of seeing Katie play. And the first time I met you was we were on a train on our way back from a game at Waverley. Court announced that night.
Yeah, I started all my little, I guess, my media netball and my involvement in the high performance space, like I guess with Kestrels when you were doing some reporting, and I was the courtside announcer. I reckon I spent a bit of time as the courtside mascot, to be honest, as well. So, long affiliation with netball back in Victoria, which was great. A really, really great upbringing, I guess, in the game. And Caitlin Thwaites back in those days, she was a 18, 19-year-old when she was kind of emerging onto the scene, and what a career she's had and what a season she's having too. And in the twilight of her career and what's now her last season, the best netball she's ever played. And it's so great to see, I think, the netball community get around her over the past couple of years. And she's such a popular character and human being in the game. She deserves nothing more than a premiership and a fairy tale send-off with the Vixens. So I think fingers crossed from my perspective that the Vixens can get across the line and send Caitlin and also Tegan Phillip as well off with an absolute hiss and a roar, because they certainly deserve it. And Caitlin in particular has been an awesome servant and an advocate for netball. And I love how much she's been embraced by everyone around the world, and people have seen her true colours, which has been amazing. She's a pretty special human being.
Well, Caitlin turned out to be a pretty good player for the Pulse some years back. And just incidentally, before I get to my question, I love you talking about turning a Leeds Netball home venue into a bit of a, if I'm marketing teams. It's like when the Steel are playing at their best in the ANZ Premiership. It's what Steel supporters basically like to do, and we don't have any bones about it. But just getting back on track, being based on the UK, or in the UK rather, have you been able to do quite a bit of Western Europe, and is fairly close by? You're not looking at 24 hours flying time from Australia anymore to get to some of these places.
Yeah, I think it's, to be honest, it's one of those things that's great about living and working over here in the UK is I think the opportunity to have a bit more of a life balance than just your job is really quite exciting. I think when you're working in a professional coaching space in Australia, it's 24/7 all consuming, and it's very difficult to duck away for a weekend to somewhere quite tropical or exotic when you're living in Australia. You're so isolated from the rest of the world. But I think living in the UK at the moment really does suit me in terms of any downtime. You can jump on a plane for an hour and you might find yourself in the center of Paris or Rome or whatever it might be. And, just last week I took a week's break in Turkey and soaked up 34-degree sunshine for about 7 days. So that was awesome. So I think little things like that are really cool about being able to live and work over here, is you've got the rest of the world at your doorstep. And it's really important that you are disciplined and take time to step away from your day-to-day space and thoughts as a head coach. And it can be an all-consuming job, but you're no good to no one if it's overwhelming and you're overworked. So yeah, anytime that I can kind of duck away and see a bit of beautiful parts of Europe or the world, I'm all for it. So hopefully you can get a few more opportunities to do that. But very difficult in a global pandemic, that's for sure. But still possible if you're safe and if you do things the right way.
I know one of the highlights of your travelling was after the unfortunate end to what happened with the Thunderbirds, you were able to go and walk the El Camino. Could you tell us about that? That just sounds like an amazing experience that you told Sue Gordian about a couple of months ago.
Yeah, it was one of the best things I've ever done. And it was something I think that I wanted to do for about 10 years beforehand when I first heard about it. And, it's a strange type of adventure that, I don't think is suited for everybody, but it's one of those types of experiences that kind of calls you to it. And it's all about, right time, right place. And You know, I'd just finished up at Adelaide. I'd moved back to the UK. I won the Super League with Manchester Thunder as an assistant coach. I just coached the World Cup, and then I had a bit of time off. And I just felt like it was the right time for me to have a complete break from, I guess, my life and what I was doing. And walking the Camino de Santiago, it's no easy feat, but 35 days, 900 kilometers from St. Jean-Pied-de-Port in France, so the foothills of the Pyrenees, and you walk all the way through Spain and end up at Santiago de Compostela. And then if you want to keep walking, you can walk an extra 100 kilometers to Finisterre, which is, they call it the end of the world, and it's the ocean. So you spend all this time walking through unbelievable landscapes for 35 days, and you end up in the beautiful ocean in Spain to finish it off. And it's just the most life-changing, life-affirming experience you can possibly do. And the people that you meet along the way, the conversations you have, the bonds you form, and the experiences that you endure there are just things that will stay with you for the rest of the life. And, you know, I'm in touch with my mates that I made on that walk all the time, and so many memories and life lessons that it gives you. But yeah, really can't wait to do another one. And I highly recommend to anybody that, you know, might be in a bit of a situation in their life where they need a break, or they need to make some decisions, or they need to refresh or recharge or just get away, whatever it might be. Definitely think about going for a very, 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 very long walk. It'll do you the world of good.
You say you still keep in touch with mates from that walk, Dan. Well, you better let the Leeds Rhinos membership department know. There might be a couple of members already. What do you reckon?
Well, I hope so, mates. I'm pretty confident that the memberships are going to be snapped up pretty quickly. But yeah, who knows? We might get a couple of members from Africa, Italy. Who knows? We'll wait and see.
All right, Dan. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. It's been a very, very long time, and as an old friend of yours from uni, I'm really proud of what you've been able to achieve. And you're in the UK now with the Rhinos, and trying to build that franchise. And onwards and upwards. And we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks so much, guys, and keep up the great work. Great to see you.
Thank you.